Hey everybody, it's Ben, and I'm back once again with another video for you guys. Today I'm going to be reviewing the New 52 Secret 6 Issues 1 through 6, or Volume 1, What is the Secret? The series is written by Gail Simone, with its initial first arc being illustrated by a few different artists, Ken Lashley, Dale Eaglesham, and Tom Derenick, with Jason Wright on colours and Drew Geraci on inks. So, the story starts out and we see that Catman is being followed by a group of nefarious individuals who are looking to arrest him or detain him for purposes which we don't yet know what they are. Unfortunately, Catman in the New 52 incarnation doesn't like to be confined, so he says to the guy that's trying to arrest him, "You can arrest me, but don't put any cuffs on me, because I don't like to be confined." And then, unfortunately, he doesn't take the news too well that they want to arrest him, so he decides to basically beat the crap out of the guys. And there's a really great fight scene which ensues, and I have to say that the colouring and the inks really make the artwork in these issues really pop off the page. But unfortunately, despite his most valiant efforts, Catman is unfortunately knocked out and taken to who knows where at this point in the story. And we find out that he's actually been placed in a metal coffin, which is deemed Project Mockingbird, where we're introduced to the rest of the team, who consist of Big Shot, who is a private investigator. We have Black Alice, who is a magic wielder. We have Porcelain, who has the power to make objects really brittle, and apparently the stronger the material, or the better, because you can make it even more brittle really quickly. The Ventriloquist, who is a female in the New 52 incarnation, with her puppet Ferdie. And also we see that Strix, who is the assassin for the Court of Owls, is also trapped in the container as well. So we find out that the team is being held captive because there's a secret that apparently they possess, and their captor wants to know what the answer to this secret actually is. And we start to see some of the team use some of their powers. For example, there's Porcelain removing the chain between Catman's handcuffs. We also get introduced to Strix, who doesn't talk, so she has to make notes for everybody. And then, as you can see there's some showcasing of Black Alice's magic powers. So unfortunately, the team are held captive for about between, a month and a year, depending on who is being given perspective in the story. We see there that Catman is initially being dragged to Project Mockingbird. And we see a really grisly scene of him actually biting the fingers off one of his captors, to which he gets pretty much smacked around a couple of times afterwards. And the guy that captures him says, "I'll lay you out in a year, sweet dreams." And next thing we know then is he is once again interacting with the rest of the team, or the would-be team anyway. And we find out that again he doesn't want to be confined, and so after a bit of conversation and deducing of the problem that they need to escape, which the team eventually do. There's again really great artwork by Ken Lashley, who is a very sort of a cartoony style, but then again there's also some stylized realism to it. Once again, really complemented by the colouring and the inking by Jason Wright and Drew Geraci. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's Gerace. So at the end of the second issue, the team have escaped from their confinement cell, and they then go on the run to try and find out who this Mockingbird individual really is. And so the team have relocated to the suburbs in Big Shot's house, and the third issue opens with a police officer who it seems is heavily implied is on the take, or a bent police officer in the GCPD in the suburbs, beating on his dog. And even though Catman claims to hate dogs, he basically tells the cop, if you beat the dog again, I'll come back and I'll make you heal. Which later he makes good on his threat. And we get some really great interaction between the team members. There's a really great father and daughter relationship present between Black Alice and Big Shot, crikey, I forgot the kid's name. Laurie and Ralph is actually his full name. It's not Big Shot. It's quite reminiscent, actually, of some of the scenes between Bane and Scandal Savage from the original Secret Six series. So this team is finding it really difficult to live in the suburbs. It's all really alien and foreign to them. You know, people mowing lawns, there's no shopping around, there's no shopping malls or anything. So the team decides to, settle down and have a bite to eat. So, unfortunately, there's no food in the house, so Porcelain and the Ventriloquist, Shauna, I can't remember the last name, but Shauna decide to go out and try and find some food. There's some really awesome scene of these couple of neighborhood thugs harassing Porcelain and the Ventriloquist. Despite the fact that Porcelain tells him repeatedly, back off, leave me alone. And then there's a really awesome scene of her basically grabbing the guy's arm and basically making the bones in his arm brittle and making it, I would imagine, essentially break. Just because the guy was getting up in her face, and she said, leave me alone, and he didn't. So he pretty much, she gave him a lesson in manners. There's some really endearing and really sweet interactions between Strix and Catman. Even though Strix has to keep writing notes for everybody, I'm unfamiliar with the character of Strix. I know she was in The Birds of Prey and in I believe the Batgirl tie-ins in the Court of Owls series, all written by Gail Simone. So if anybody can fill me in if she's a mute or if she's similar to Cassandra Cain's character, where she doesn't talk but she keeps writing notes for everybody, that would be much appreciated. So Strix doesn't know sort of how to make a homely, essentially, so Catman just says, look, just set the table how you like and we'll all settle down and have something to eat. So she then takes a prized rose bush belonging to Big Shot's mother and puts that on the table, I imagine, from the garden outside. But again, it's just really endearing and really, really great interaction between the characters. And the team are then sat around eating and obviously discussing what their next plan is in terms of finding out who this Mockingbird person is and what they want. Unfortunately for the cop that Catman met earlier, he finds out that he's once again putting the smackdown on his dog, so Catman comes back and makes good on his threats, and he beats the living crap out of the cop, and says, to add insult to injury, he just said, I'm taking the dog, which he does, and then we find out who the Mockingbird actually is. Slight spoiler, it's actually Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler. And one of the members of the team is, of course, working for Mockingbird. And the next issue follows on with the same theme of the team attempting to sort of hide in plain sight and try and find out what this Mockingbird, or what Edward Nygma, the Riddler, actually wants. And again, it's not really working out so well. They're trying to sort of blend in, and they're doing a good job of it, but at the same time, they're not without their followers and their trackers. And these two, actually three masked assailants are actually following them and working on behalf of the Riddler. We find out later that they are fan favourite characters and familiar faces to those of us who read the original, or not the original, but the previous series of Secret Six by Gail Simone from the pre-New 52 universe. Again, there's some more really great dialogue between the characters. Again, one of the fan favourites is still as funny as ever. It's really black, dark humour, which is again a trademark of Gail's writing, especially with this particular character, who I will reveal who they are shortly. They pay a visit to Big Shot's home, and they try to sort of come to an agreement and make an alliance, but unfortunately the team are less than trustworthy of these three individuals. There's some really great action, some great fight scenes that unfold thereafter. While also there's some really endearing dialogue, especially from Big Shot, who he actually puts a vase underneath a table which his wife made for him before she passed away. And again, there's more really great laugh out loud funny dialogue from one of the particular characters who is actually fighting with Catman. And we find out that these three assailants that have chosen to pick a fight with him are actually Scandal Savage, Ragdoll, and Banshee. Now, some of you will remember these three characters from, as I said, the previous series of Secret Six. And that's where they find out that the reason that Scandal is working for Edward Enigma is he's actually holding two women that she really cares for a great deal. So he's using them as leverage to make her essentially work for him. And in the next issue, we also have, again, more really great, awkward sort of dialogue between the characters as they're, again, still at Big Shot's house. But there's some really surprising reveals as to the female that we saw at the start of the first issue, who was actually one of the people that attempted to capture Catman in the first place and eventually did. She actually, it turns out the woman actually has very close ties with Big Shot. Again, there's some really fantastic artwork on the part of Dale Eaglesham, along with the colouring and the inks. Again, these guys just can't seem to get along, so they all start fighting. And then eventually, once the fight is obviously subdued, we find out that, again, indeed, that the Riddler is actually Mockingbird, and there's a really great scene between Scandal Savage and the Riddler where she says, "You are no warlord, and, you know, remember that the next time you choose to threaten my family," meaning the two women that the Riddler is using as leverage to make Scandal work for him. And we find out that Big Shot is actually Ralph Dibny, the husband of Sue Dibny. In the New 52, he is still has his stretching powers, but he's not so much a superhero. He's more of a, as he puts it, a detective, which made a lot of bonuses. And there was one particular job that he and his wife took where a diamond was on showcase on a cruise ship held by Edward Enigma for, I imagine, for auctioneering purposes. Unfortunately, we find out that the night didn't go as planned and everything just went awry. We also find out that every member of the Six that's actually travelling to an undisclosed location at this time was actually there at the party at the time. Catman was working security. Strix was loaned out to, again, provide security on behalf of the Court of Owls. Black Alice and the Ventriloquist were there as a means of just not being invited. They just wanted to be around socialites and eventually try and grab the Indian Star. Unfortunately, for the Dibneys anyway, the Riddler actually makes a really startling proposal and question to Sue Dibny, and unfortunately, after a brief blackout, the Indian Star becomes, somebody steals it. So the Enigma really becomes enraged by this, and he says that nobody leaves this boat alive until I have my diamond back. And unfortunately, through the ensuing fight scenes and the gunplay between all the characters, the ship eventually blows up. And unfortunately for Ralph and Sue, they become separated, and he assumes that she went down when the boat exploded and essentially drowned at sea. There's some really heartfelt dialogue between Big Shot and Sue when he actually discovers she's actually alive. But unfortunately, as with any sort of happy ending for the big guy, it's not all as it seems. And we find out that this has all been a ruse on part of the Riddler to attempt to find out which one of the 6 actually has his diamond. Because he believes that one of them, during the fray on the cruise ship, managed to make away with the diamond. There's a really great scene of Nigma, again, being this just narcissistic character who is pretty much obsessed with this diamond for his own personal reasons, which I won't divulge. You'll have to read the story to find out. He attempts to use the threat of violence to try and make the team member who has the diamond to cough it up. There's a really great action scene next, but there's a really great scene where Catman is reading a note out to Nigma which Strix has written, and he says, "What's on the note?" And he says, "She's asking if I should wait for you, or should I kill all these guys myself and then wait for you guys to assist?" And Nigma just asks, sort of out of shock, "Can she do that?" And then Catman just retorts by saying, "Nigma, she's already doing it." And there's again a really great action scene of Strix basically taking care of business, doing what she does best, and making short work of Nigma's henchmen. There's another really great scene where Catman himself gets a moment to shine, and he just beats the living snot out of the Riddler while also taunting him about, the fact that he's obsessed with riddles, and that's all he sort of does really is just do silly riddles for people. And obviously he's got this fetish with green and the question mark and everything. And unfortunately, being a bit of a strategist, the Riddler planned for this contingency, and so there's a really heartbreaking ending between Sue and Ralph. I won't reveal what that is, but it's just a really, really heartbreaking scene where he's actually finally reunited with the love of his life, and then all of a sudden, just the Riddler just pulling a 180 on him and just throwing a spanner in the works, so to speak. And again, this puts the team into conflict because he doesn't want to leave his wife behind, and so they all get into an ensuing fight scene. Even Ferdie, the puppet of the ventriloquist, even gets his own minute to shine, where it seems like he might have broken or sprained one of the Riddler's legs while sort of, again, taunting him about the fact that, he was the one that stole the diamond in the first place. And, well, I'll leave the ending up to you guys to read it. But there's a really great sort of cliffhanger scene at the end where it seems that one of the team may or may not live to see the next issue. But as to who that is and how that happens, you'll just have to wait until I review issues 7 and 8 of Secret Six. Overall, the writing, the storytelling, and the dialogue on the part of Gail Simone is absolutely fantastic, as always, especially in a team book where she more than proved herself, in my opinion, by my own estimations, in the previous version of Secret Six, with Bane, Deadshot, Catman, Banshee, Scandal Savage, and Ragdoll in the previous series. Again, this is just an absolutely fantastic series. I know to a lot of people it might not seem like it's the definitive Secret Six that they know and love, but I will say there's more than enough here for fans of the original series, or fans of Gail's writing, or her team books. You definitely need to read this. It's an absolutely fantastic series. Again, like I said, it may not be as good as the original series to some people, but I definitely think it more than warrants checking out, especially since it's a $2.99 book, so you can easily grab the back issues for your local comic shop, or I will leave a link below in the description where you can pick up the issues digitally via Comixology. Again, this is sort of an advanced review, kind of, because the trade isn't out yet. I don't think the trade will be out until January or February of next year, I don't think. So it's definitely well worth picking up the back issues. It's only up to issue 8 at the moment. Issue 8 came out last Wednesday, I believe. So there's definitely plenty of time to catch up. But anyway, I highly, heartily recommend that you pick up the series if you're a fan of DC team books or just Gail Simone in general. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Highly recommended. Thank you as always, everybody, for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more content from me. And this has been your host, Gambit896, signing off, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.